Alrighty, y'all. Hello. Hope you're having a great day. We're just going to have a chill video today. We're looking at random fun facts about Europe you never knew. At least that's the title of this article from the real world. This will be linked down below if you would like to check it out for yourself. Number one, the Notre Dame, or the Notre Dame, is the most visited attraction in Europe. Look at that. That is actually insane. I think I always say this when I see some of these old structures, these mega, ultra intricate structures throughout Europe, like this. It blows my mind. The amount of detail and intricacy in this kind of is mind-bending. You do see some old structures in the U.S., but it's, from what I've always heard and from what I've seen, nothing quite like what you can find in Europe. Because, of course, there's stuff just way older in Europe. America's still relatively new. Anywho, a lot of people tend to think the Colosseum, the Eiffel Tower, Disneyland Paris, any of these might be guesses as to what is the most visited attraction. Honestly, I wouldn't have known what to guess. I probably would have leaned towards Eiffel Tower. But they're close guesses, but they're not correct. The Notre Dame or the Notre Dame, which one is it? I suppose either or. I'm sure you guys will sort it out for me. The Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, with almost 14 million yearly visitors. The cathedral is well on its way to recovery after after the devastating fire of 2019. I never looked into that. I think I remember hearing about that just in passing, like on the news or seeing article headlines. Wow, that actually was on fire. What the hell? And it does link right here that this was on fire. On April 15th, 2019, a fire broke out under the eaves of the Notre Dame Cathedral's roof. The fire engulfed the spire and most of the roof. The fire began around 6:30 p.m. Paris time on Monday, April 15th, and burned until the next morning, Tuesday. That is actually crazy. Fire engulfed the spire and most of the roof. Thankfully, firefighters were able to control the blaze, saving the main structure, including the bell towers and rose windows. Nobody was injured, and the Catholic relics housed in the cathedral and the priceless works of art were rescued and brought to safety. That's a relief. That is just like the crazy, scary thing about the world is something can survive for years and years, centuries and centuries, but it can be gone in a matter of hours. Isn't that scary? That's crazy. For a fire breaking out, it doesn't seem to have done a terrible amount of carnage like it could have. They got tons, hundreds of millions of pledges. That's crazy. People really rallied together. There were 10,500 donors from the U.S. over here, as well as donors from 50 countries outside of France. So the whole world really came together for this. It's actually kind of cool to see when the whole world can band together and for a cause, right? Imagine working on that. I just feel like that'd be so weird. You're working on something that's so old and preserved, and it has been saved and preserved through time, decade after decade after decade, for hundreds of years. I would feel like a sense of pressure working on that, right? Number two, Iceland doesn't have mosquitoes. What? Now, how's that possible? I know Iceland does have waters. We can see the waterfalls, right? From the little I've seen, it looks like a beautiful landscape there. I definitely have to dive more into Iceland. But, yeah, there's definitely water. Of course, it's surrounded by water, right? Iceland is an island. How on earth would there not be mosquitoes there? It says, although there are more than 3,000 types of mosquitoes, geez, Iceland doesn't have any at all. Amazingly, Iceland is believed to be completely clear of any mosquitoes, thanks to cold temperatures and lack of shallow ponds that mosquitoes love. So if you're prone to mosquito bites, you better head to Iceland. Well, keep that in mind. That's pretty cool. I've lived in two very different places within the U.S. I've lived out in the Southwest in the desert, and thankfully that was a nice break. Like, the mosquitoes were not bad out there because it's a desert, right? There's barely any water around. They were still there, but it wasn't too bad. But of course, in the eastern U.S., over here in Illinois, it gets really hot and humid in the summer and even parts of spring and stuff. So, once March, April comes around, the mosquitoes show up, and then throughout the summer, they're really bad. Number three, you can actually get mail from the King of England. You can get mail from the king? What the hell? One of the most random facts about Europe is that if you live in a Commonwealth, you can get a letter from the King of England. If you celebrate your 100th and 105th birthday, and every year after, or your 60th, 65th, 70th anniversaries, and every year after, you'll get a congratulatory card from King Charles himself. Well, you know what? That's pretty interesting. I did not know that. Although those are pretty incredible accomplishments. So, I mean, yeah, you kind of deserve a shout out from the king, right? If you're living to 100, 105, or if you've, got a 65th, a 70th anniversary. Number 4, more chocolate is bought at Brussels airport than anywhere else in the world. Oh my God, what? You've probably heard about Belgian chocolate. Yes, I have. It's very well, received, well liked, well revered, whatever you want to say here in the U.S. That's one thing I do know about other food cultures. That's like a universal truth. Everyone knows Belgian chocolate is the bomb. It's famed as some of the best chocolate in the world, and travelers obviously know it, as Brussels Airport sells more of the sweet stuff than anywhere else on Earth. Over 800 tons of chocolate is sold every year at the airport. Holy crap. And we know we can't resist picking up a box or two. It kind of makes sense. At first glance, you're like, why on earth would an airport be selling more of a famous food than some famous shop in Brussels or something, right? Why is the airport selling the most? Well, I guess it makes sense. You have tons of people coming through there, thousands, millions, whatever, every day, every year. There's tons and tons of people coming through. If they're famous for that, in this case, they're famous for chocolate and they sell it there, maybe they forgot and they're like, oh, I want to grab this. I want to grab, Belgian chocolate before I head home. You grab it right there at the airport. I mean, it kind of makes sense. So if you got the chocolate stand at Brussels Airport, you are doing well. Okay, what the hell is this? Norway knighted a penguin more than once, have you? What? This penguin has been knighted. How? I want to know. Did you know there's a penguin more aristocratic than you? Wow. I feel great now. There's a penguin out there with much more status than me. That's awesome. One of your favorite fun facts about Europe is that Scotland's Edinburgh Zoo is home to a knighted penguin named Brigadier Sir Niels Olaf III. He's the mascot and colonel-in-chief of the Norwegian King's Guard, and he is the third king penguin to serve. Ooh, boy, this article that paragraph is a mouthful for me. The first Sir Olaf penguin served between 1972 and 1987. If you're ever feeling down, well, you're going to feel down even more. Knowing that a penguin has more social class than you. Number 6, St. Peter's Basilica is the largest church in Europe. The largest church in Europe. That's saying something, because I feel like Europe's got lots of spectacularly huge and impressive churches. It's got to be St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, okay, in Rome, standing at 222 meters long, 152 meters wide, 137 meters tall, with a capacity for 60,000 people. 60,000 people at Mass. That would be crazy. This is not only the largest church in Europe, but the whole world. Seems fitting that the church is in Vatican City, the home of the Pope. It does. I mean, honestly, that makes sense. It would kind of be weird not to have the biggest church there, right? Number 7, the Kingdom of Denmark is the oldest monarchy in Europe. I would have no idea. I would have had no idea. Founded in 1919, oh my lord. Founded in 935 by Vikings. That is, 935 is a long time ago. By Viking kings Gorm and the old Harald Bluetooth. Bluetooth? Holy smokes. Don't tell me this guy invented Bluetooth technology back then, right? It's a horrible joke. I'm sorry. The Danish monarchy has been ruling Denmark for over 1,000 years. From Gorm to the old and current Queen Margaret. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher these names, guys. Royal family is the oldest in all of Europe. Another random fact about Europe's monarchies is that there are still 10 European countries with royal families. Although most of the attention goes to King Charles and his family in the UK, there are also monarchies in Spain, Sweden, Norway, Netherlands, Belgium, Monaco, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, Andorra, and Denmark. See? That's a good point. I did not know that. Honestly, I would have had no idea, but just off of ignorance, what I've been fed, which is not much over here in the U.S. about Europe, we don't hear much about it. It's everything's very America-centric here, at least in mainstream media. The only kingdom I've ever heard of and would have been confident in guessing would have been the UK, we do hear quite a lot about that, in bits and pieces on the news. Here's an interesting one. Never clink your glasses in Hungary. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see why. That's like something very common here. Cheers, salud, whatever. You clink your glasses. That's very common here in the U.S. when you're hanging with friends and family. While you may be used to saying cheers and clinking your glasses with friends, you should never do this in Hungary. This custom goes back to 1848 when Austria defeated Hungary in the revolution. The Austrians celebrated by clinking their beer glasses while toasting their victory. Ever since, Hungarians have not clinked their glasses during a toast. Instead, you should say what that says. There's no way I'm going to pronounce that. I will get that so wrong. And look your Hungarian friends in the eye before taking a drink. Very interesting. That's one of those random things that you would honestly never know. But you got to try and remember. So I'll have to remember that if I'm touring Europe. Never clink your glasses in Hungary. Speaking of beer, the Czech Republic is next up. The only reason I said speaking of beer is because I've read multiple times, including a quiz on my community post. I've confirmed that, I've always read and heard that the Czech Republic consumes the most beer per capita in the whole world, I believe. Anywho, the Czech Republic has the most castles in Europe. Love castles. You'll adore the Czech Republic. The country has 932 castles and 1,187 stately homes. That's more than any other country in Europe. Even if you visited one castle a day, it would take you over 2.5 years to see them all. I don't like how they don't have a picture for that. Where's the picture of, some badass castle in the Czech Republic? Anywho, shout out to Czech Republic. You guys got the most castles. That's pretty cool. 932 castles just chilling in the Czech Republic to this day. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Number 10, you'll find Europe's tallest building, which Europe is not known for tall buildings. We've gone over videos about that. But there are some outliers. There's some tall buildings. The tallest one is in Russia. Did you know the tallest building in Europe is in St. Petersburg in Russia? Soaring into the sky like a glass shard, the Lakta Center is a whopping 462 meters in height. There are 87 stories, and you'll be sure to get some spectacular views from the top. That thing is crazy. Is that what it is? Is that really it? Kind of looks isolated, right? If that's it, that is very bizarre looking. At number 11, there are more than 200 languages spoken in Europe. Now, this is one thing I want to point out is I think this video isn't really that, but I do a lot of videos where it's like, certain countries versus the U.S., or I'll just do, Europe versus the U.S. Videos, and those always tend to do really well. And most people understand that it's just a, kind of a broad comparison, and there's always going to be more specifics for each, right? The United States is very big and very diverse, and, all the states are different from each other and stuff. But you could definitely say the same thing, even to a bigger extent, for Europe. Europe is just a name of a continent, right? Of course, there are many different peoples, cultures, geography, all these different things in Europe, and all the different countries can be thought of, for my American mind, as basically different states over there. They're all different and unique, and they can change a lot. And this really speaks to that. So just know when you see titles like that, don't always judge them too hard, because most people, once they get to learn stuff, like me, on this channel, I'm learning so much about the world. I'm very aware that Europe is not an accurate term to just classify everyone in Europe as the same. I would never do that. Of course not. Europe is very diverse, and this proves it. 200 languages. Now, the U.S. is diverse, right? Lots of different people. It's a melting pot. All the states are different, yada, yada. But, I'll be honest. there's not, 200 languages spoken here. It's basically English and Spanish. That's very common. Those are the two mains. And, of course, you'll have micro pockets of people that speak different languages here. But it doesn't really affect most people that aren't in that group, right? In other words, I'm not going to walk around the U.S. in some city or town and hear 50 different languages in, my walk around or my drive around. You're only going to hear basically English or Spanish. So yeah, this speaks to how diverse Europe is. With dozens of unique cultures and countries across Europe, there are over 200 languages spoken on the continent, although only 24 are recognized as official languages of the European Union. So, even 24 is still a lot more. I mean, I know there's technically tons of languages here in the U.S. as well, but like I said, it's only like your main ones, right? English, for the most part, maybe some Spanish. There's a lot of other languages that, technically exist here, but, aren't going to be common. You're just not going to run into them. Anyway, out of those 24, 3 are designated as procedural, including English, French, and German. So I guess those would be the most prominent. Although also the most common language spoken in Europe is English, and 38% of the European population can speak it. Wow, I guess I don't know if that's surprising or not. The most common language in Europe is still English. I guess I would have maybe guessed that. I really wouldn't have known what the most common one is. I would have assumed your English was up there, but not the most common. That is interesting. Regardless, only 38% would be considered fluent in English, which that leaves a lot. That leaves 62% that English is definitely not first language or maybe not fluent in it. I guess it's kind of mind-blowing that still like a majority of people throughout Europe probably couldn't watch my videos or wouldn't understand my videos, like if I'm only speaking in English, right? So that's kind of interesting. I think more people in Europe on average speak more languages. Of course, there's people in the U.S. that might know 5 languages or something, but it's not very common. My wife, shout out to my wife, Daniela, she is trilingual. She knows 3 languages, but that's not common. Like most people I know don't know 3 languages. She does, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I saw a video a long time ago where they were going around. I don't remember where it was. I think Amsterdam or something. And people, like just on the sidewalk that they'd stop, they would speak a sentence in like all these different languages. Like most of the regular people on the street just knew like 3 or 4 languages. Like it was very common. I think that's more of a European thing than you would find over here. All right, now we're going to fly through these last ones because I have been yapping way too much. Number 12, Norway has the longest coastline in Europe. That is actually crazy. I mean, it makes sense. When I see it on a map, it's just all like crazy rugged coastline. Norway is just a beautiful place. I'm learning more about it recently, and one of the things like I just love, I mean, who doesn't actually? I mean, I just love like beautiful landscapes, and the pictures you can get in Norway look pretty epic. I mean, look at the Northern Lights. We got beautiful coastline and water, rugged land, the terrain, the mountains. It's crazy. Looks like a spectacular place. By the way, their coastline's second longest in the world, only behind Canada, which that's crazy. Canada's number 1 for coastline. The smallest town in Europe is in Croatia. The little town of Hum is in Istria region, northwest of Croatia, and a population is only 30 people. Along with its tiny size, Hum is also famous for its mistletoe brandy called Biska. Biska or Bishka, maybe. Legend says that ancient Celtic druids left the Bishka recipe in Hum around 2,000 years ago. Another interesting fact about Hum in Europe is that the majority of population speak Italian thanks to their close proximity to Italy. That is actually pretty cool. La Sagrada Familia is taking longer to build than the pyramids. First of all, this blows my mind. We were talking about big, intricate, old structures. This is in Barcelona, Spain, right? This is absolutely out of this world to me. And I mean that in the best way. It is a masterpiece. It is alien to me. It doesn't even look like, I can't even comprehend this. There's nothing like this in the U.S., by the way. While the extraordinary ancient pyramids of Egypt were constructed in 85 years, between 2589 and 2504 BC, La Sagrada Familia has been under construction for the past 138 years. Construction first began on a famous basilica in 1882, and although Gaudi didn't get to see his extraordinary work completed, Barcelona is aiming to complete it by 2026. For the 100th anniversary of Gaudi's death. They are still working on this thing. Holy crap. Now, this is really weird, guys. I got to admit. Denmark has 7,000 approved baby names. You have to name your child one of the 7,000 pre-approved names? That's pretty weird, I got to admit. That is really weird. Creative spellings of common names are also not permitted under these laws. Want to name your kid something unique, you'll need to get permission from the government. There are also banned names, too. If you're from Denmark, don't even think about naming your baby Pluto, Anus, or Monkey. They weren't our first choices either. I'm going to leave that one alone. That's really bizarre. Okay. It is illegal in Switzerland to mow your lawn on Sundays. First of all, Switzerland, again, gorgeous. Look at this picture. Gorgeous place. I've never seen a lawn mowing session that would look this beautiful. But yeah, you're just not allowed to do it on Sundays. You can probably get bored with this fun fact about Europe. In Switzerland, you're not allowed to mow your lawn, build anything, wash your car, or hang clothes out to dry on Sundays. The Swiss believe Sunday is for rest, and noisy and annoying household chores shouldn't interfere with everyone's relaxation. Wow, that is so different compared to the U.S. I think part of it is, remember, our working culture here is so harsh in the U.S., and most people don't have time to do anything during the week, so they get all their housework and lawn mowing and washing the car and all these things, especially outside for a homeowner. Most of that is done on Saturdays and Sundays. Quite frankly, Sundays probably being one of the most common days because most people want to use Saturday as, going out fishing or going out with the friends to an event or a sporting event or whatever. So Saturdays are usually more like leisure, going out and having fun. So then you got to crack down and do everything on Sunday before you have to go back to work for the week. So that is a stark difference for sure between Switzerland and the U.S. on Sunday culture. Bulgaria is the oldest European nation by name. You may know that the Republic of San Marino is the oldest independent state in Europe, dating back to 301 AD. Holy smokes. But another fun fact is that Bulgaria is the oldest European country by name. While dozens of countries in Europe have chopped and changed their names over the years, Bulgaria has stuck with the same name since it adopted it in 681 AD. That's actually crazy. I did not know that. You look at a map 1,000 years ago, it's going to say Bulgaria. Pretty interesting, actually. There is a rainforest in Europe. What? I thought Europe was pretty bizarre in the fact that it doesn't really have any deserts or rainforest or jungles or anything like that. There is a rainforest, though. When you think of Europe, you probably imagine snowy Alps, lush pine forests, and winding rivers. But did you know that there is one last remaining rainforest in Europe? Found in Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Peručka rainforest is tentative UNESCO World Heritage Site and is one of the most precious green lungs in Europe. I did not know that. That is actually pretty cool. And then the last three, speed round. Only 1% of the British Museum's collection is on display. What? That museum in London is one of the most visited in the world, with around 6 million visitors every year. There's 8 million artworks and antiquities, but did you know you're only seeing around 1% of the collection at any time? There's only room for around 800,000 objects to be displayed? What the hell? So they obviously rotate stuff out. 800,000 objects is only 1%? What the hell? That's got to be the most impressive collection ever. Well, that's crazy. So many questions with that. Wales has a town with 57 letters in its name. That's amazing. I actually have a video from probably like a year and a half ago. Someone suggested it was pretty funny. I thought they were yanking my chain. I guess Wales has some really interesting words, at least interesting from my perspective, right? Really long. I have no idea how to pronounce them. There's one of them right there. No, I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Might look like someone dropped something on their keyboard. Yeah, that's what it looks like to be. No offense. It is definitely different. It's a real name, and it means cave. I mean, could have just rolled 4 letters, but that's cave. Hey, you know what? No hate here. If you can say that, more power to you. And finally, 10 Scandinavian villages have names that are just 1 letter long. So the complete opposite of the Wales situation. We got some Scandinavian villages that just are named A or O. There you go. I mean, that's that's on the flip side. That's almost too easy, right? Now we're getting into just as confusing territory. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, guys. I probably rambled a lot through that. This is probably going to be a longer video. But if you stuck around this long, I do appreciate you. Please throw a like on there if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to be part of this amazing community we do have here. Click that join button to become a member for super affordable price. I would appreciate that as well. But most of all, just thank you for watching. I would love to hear your comments on this video. These articles are fun. You know, some of the things might be a little goofy or a little exaggerated or what have you. So you have to let me know what you thought of these facts. Were some of them cool? Were some of them accurate? Were some of them not accurate? That kind of thing. I would love to hear it. But that's all I got for you in this one. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. And until next time, y'all, enjoy your day. I'll catch you later.